Welcome everyone to the regular council session of Municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc on Tuesday, July 4th, 2023. The Municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc acknowledge that it is located on Treaty 21 territory. We are thankful to the generations of people who have taken care of this land, including the Chippewas of the Thames First Nation, the Munsee Delaware First Nation, and the Oneida of the Thames. Before we begin, Councillor Hippel is absent with notice. Councillor Canis is absent with notice. However, Councillor Brennan holds his proxy if needed. And Councillor Wilsey is joining us via Zoom. Before we begin, are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we'll move on to petitions and delegations. The first petition is a petition for new drainage works, Integral Farm Holdings, Inc. We have a recommendation that council accept the petition and authorize Spreed Associates to prepare a report on this matter. Do we have a mover? Deputy Mayor McGuire, second by Councillor Pelkman. Director Strauss, we'll turn it over to you if they're summarize the report for us, please.
Through you, the mayor. I don't really have much to say other than this is just an outlet for private farm drainage that's not currently to the property line. So I'll just leave it at that.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. This evening, we're lucky to have a presentation on the county homeless program by Cindy Howard from the county. Cindy, are you ready to go?
Thanks, and yes I am, and through the mayor. I wanted to say Gordon, but he is mayor tonight. I'm also joined tonight by Joe Winkler, who is the manager of social services at the County of Middlesex. And I believe that I'm able to say next, and the slides will just move to the next one. So next. So Middlesex County Social Services provides a range of services, including Ontario Works, childcare in early years, and homelessness. Our Ontario Works caseworkers and community navigator work directly with their most vulnerable across the county, including in Strathroy-Caradoc. Next. So the Homelessness Prevention Program, known as HPP, is a provincially mandated program. The three key goals of the program are to prevent homelessness, address homelessness, and reduce chronic homelessness. Next. So to understand where we are currently with our program, I have a couple of slides that kind of give a bit of background. So the funding is from the province of Ontario. However, the county gets its annual allocations from the City of London, who is the provincial service manager. Through a contracted agreement, the county is responsible for delivering homelessness programs in the county. The City of London provides investment plans to the province on a yearly basis. These plans include Middlesex County, and we can provide background in order to do that. Next. So we have funded a number of initiatives over the years, and these traditionally include last month's rent, the deposit for utilities, arrears for unpaid rent or unpaid utilities, and community programs involved in a county-focused solution to homelessness. Payments are made to stop evictions, assist with finding housing, and ensure utilities are not disconnected. In 2020, for example, we received about $113,000 in funding in order to do this. We do not receive any federal homelessness funding. Next. The county does not actually have any emergency shelters, and we actually do not have any operational funding to support them. We're also lacking in transitional and supportive housing. Our homeless program started to include the cost of motel stays when the shelters in London were full and could not accommodate our residents from Middlesex County. Next. So about every 5 years, the province requires an updated homelessness and housing strategy. So for 2019 to 2020, the county developed the Middlesex County strategy with input from our community. This was a big deal because it was the first time that we had a separate plan from the City of London. And the City of London attached the Middlesex plan as part of the plan that we submitted into the province. One of the gaps that we identified was the lack of rental units. And today we still continue to have the same issue. Next. So starting in 2020, as a result of COVID-19, the province provided one-time social service relief funds to assist our most vulnerable in the county. There was a total of 5 phases of this funding, and each required a business plan to be submitted. The county worked directly and closely with their community partners to identify gaps and to introduce new programs. For phases 1 to 3, the county assisted with motel stays, assisted food banks and food programs across the county, transportation for medical appointments, and cleaning supplies directly to individuals. Next. For phases 4 and 5, the county also introduced the interim accommodation pilot. This pilot is a wraparound program that involves a number of partners with CMHA Thames Valley as the lead agency. Homelessness is also a healthcare issue, and I'm sure you've been hearing that across the province. So we also included Middlesex, London community paramedics in our pilot program. Next. So our unique program was successful, and we served over 100 individuals. That included families. The pilot allowed individuals and families to stay for up to 2 months in the program as long as they were active. Outcomes included finding housing, reconnecting with family members, finding employment, and our community paramedics were able to assist individuals that perhaps didn't want to go to the emergency room, didn't have a family doctor. So they were able to help with things like wound care, blood pressure, and referrals to primary care, etc. Next. In 2022, the county hired a consultant through the provincial modernization funding to complete an attainable housing review. The findings noted that there was an increase in the number of visible homelessness and the use of temporary accommodations. Since COVID-19, there are even more pressures on our housing, and the rental accommodations continue to be very difficult to find. Next. Next. So the provincial social service relief funding was one-time funding we received from the province. We received over $1.6 million. So as you can understand, that was very significant and allowed us to do some very new programs and new initiatives in the county, and we really did make a difference during that time. The county staff and county councilors and the county warden were able to show this one-time funding that there was a need in Middlesex County, and we needed additional funding for programs. So for the 2000 year, and it goes from April 23rd to March 2024, because that's how the provincial funding works. We received that little over 200,000, but that's our base funding, so that's what we get on an annual basis. So previously I talked about the 113,000, so that's what the 210,000 is here. We also received on a one-time basis money for our homeless accommodation program, and that's the 663,000. So for this year, we'll be getting that 873,000. So that is a significant increase over the 113,000 we've received in the past. Next. So what this will allow us to do is to continue to do the programming that I talked about before, so last month's rent, utility, arrears, that type of thing, but we also can continue to bring forward that Middlesex accommodation program. So once again, we're going to partner with Canadian CMHA, Thames Valley, the Addictions and Mental Health Services. We're going to do the wraparound support that we were very successful last time, working with the community navigators, the Ontario Works caseworkers, the Middlesex Paramedic Outreach Program, This time, the previous program, we had 10 rooms, and one was a community room. This year, we're looking at least 12 rooms, also funding transportation and meals, that real wraparound to support individuals. And then, of course, food security, which is our food banks, our cupboards, our meals, our housing assistance with whatever it takes fund, our motels outside of the accommodation program. Since probably about 2018, where I talked with the City of London, shelters being full, we are still know that there's going to be a need going into 2023, 2024, helping those individuals, especially during the cold winter months. And then, I talked about this already, but the Middlesex Community Navigator. That position has been vital in the community, and it came at a really good time, COVID-19, when we were still seeing real pressures around homelessness and the needs of homelessness in the county. And our navigator is to work one-on-one with those individuals and helping them to navigate the process and look for affordable and attainable type of housing. Next. It's also very important, and I talked a little here about our journey, but we have to continue to document our journey. We have to make sure that if we're supporting an individual that's coming forward with homelessness issues, that we record that. We're currently working with the City of London and the province on an electronic system in order to do that. And we will continue to meet with the Middlesex Homeless Action Committee, individuals with lived experience. Our community partners are key in order to talk about our journey and what our needs and gaps are in the community. Community members, the City of London, as we work directly with them around the funding, not only the programs and supports they have in the City of London, but so we can continue to get those programs and supports to the County of Middlesex. And of course, the Province of Ontario. We continue to advocate, to explain our current situation in Middlesex, that we are capable of doing unique projects that make a difference, and that we have needs in our community. In the past, we've seen a lot of homelessness in the rural environments that are hidden, and this, especially with the SSRF, we're really able to show that we do have homelessness in the county, and it is more visible since COVID-19. Next. So I walked through a whole bunch of slides, so I quickly gave, I guess, a period of years, and a number of probably about 20 slides, but now I'm opening it up to Joe and I to answer any questions that council may have at this time. Thank you.
Open it up for questions. Councillor Palmer.
With the hotel accommodation program, would individual youth be placed out there too? Not youth as part of a family, but if I was 16 or 17, would they be part of that placement, or is there other places where you accommodate youth?
Through the mayor to the councillor, yes, we have worked with youth in the past in our hotel accommodation program, and we plan to continue to do that. We currently are having discussions around youth, actually, and hopefully we'll be back in another month or so to talk about maybe some other strategies we have around that as well.
Councillor Brennan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for your presentation. Strathroy-Caradoc transfers a great deal of money each year to the county as the upper tier, who are, of course, are in charge of social programs. So as the lower tier municipality, we do not fund these programs. A program such as homelessness that's being conducted by the county, I'm just wondering, is it possible to tell Strathroy-Caradoc ratepayers how many dollars Strathroy-Caradoc contributed to the homeless program in 2023?
Through the mayor to the councillor, actually the homelessness programs are 100% funded by the province. So I mentioned previously in 2019, I guess, we received about $113,000 in order to do those programs. During the COVID-19, 2020 and beyond, we got some additional funding from the province called Social Service Relief Funds that were able to pay for the accommodation program and some additional supports and services for homelessness. But again, that was all 100% funded by the province of Ontario.
Just a follow-up.
Yep, Councillor Brennan.
Oh, thank you very much for that answer. Though, then to clarify, Strathroy-Caradoc ratepayers do not contribute any money to homelessness programs at either the lower tier or the upper tier level. Is that correct?
Well, So I'll point out, there is a little allocation of 17,000 that comes from the county, but that is it. The rest all comes from the province of Ontario.
Thank you.
Councillor Peltman.
Yes, thank you. I'm just curious what, I mean, we know how tight the rental market is and how difficult it is for people to find a place to stay. Do you have a percentage of people who would otherwise not be homeless in a normal rental market, but just have no place to turn to, or rents have gotten too high for them to be able to pay?
Through the mayor to the councillor, that's a very good question. I don't think I have an answer today. I don't know if Joe would have an answer for that, but I can tell you that there is no question since COVID-19. We've been hearing a lot of stories, getting phone calls, whether it's from a council member of the county or a community member, talking about displacements. Maybe you're on Ontario Works or ODSP, and a place that you might have lived in for 5 to 10 years in a rental has now been sold, and you're now looking for a new place to live. That's been more and more of a common story, unfortunately. As we know, a lot of individuals are moving into the county. It's a great county, good place to live. But by doing that, it causes a lot of pressures on the housing system. And as I mentioned, when we did the homelessness and housing study, at that time, that was the 2019 to 2024, we noted that at that time it was hard to find rental accommodations. And with COVID-19, and over the years, it's even harder to find those rental accommodations.
Any other questions? Thank you, Cindy. I'm just going to piggyback on Councillor Palmer's questions regarding youth. Tonight we're going to see a progress report from 37 Frank Street. And one of their success stories last year was a youth who was 16 who came in off the street, and they were able to transition them to this program. So it does work for all of ages. And one other note, I guess, the City of London is somewhat modeling. They've created their hub program, which is a wraparound support. So we're slightly ahead, but thank you for all of your efforts, and it's appreciated, and we'll be in touch.
Great, thank you, and it was a pleasure to be here tonight.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for that. Tonight, I believe Courtney Carroll, resident of Mount Bridges, has requested to speak regarding the crosswalk in Mount Bridges on Glendon Drive. Courtney, welcome, and we'll love to have you come to the podium and turn the mic on. I can help you do that. And you do have a PowerPoint. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to thank everyone for having me here to speak about something that's near and dear to my heart and to the other residents of the Woods Edge community and Mount Bridges. So I will do the same thing as Cindy, and just say next. Please. So I just want to talk to you a little bit about my experience. These children are my life, and so are the other children of Woods Edge community. The two girls that you see there were involved in a vehicle accident at the intersection of Glendon Drive and Adelaide on June 20th while they were walking home from school. Next. So this is the intersection that they were hit at. There were a bunch of other kids walking home from school with them, watched this incident as well. So my daughters had the right of way to walk across essentially from the church to the Tim Hortons there, if you know the area well. And the gentleman was turning onto Glendon Drive from Adelaide. So he was making a left-hand turn and he hit my daughters. Next. So why I want to talk to you today is because I want to talk to you about some crossings that I feel need attention in the Mount Bridges area. So the first crossing is at Glendon Drive and Bond Street. So here you can, I did have the pictures a little bigger, but in order to file transfer, I needed to make them a bit smaller. So you can see here that I want to talk about some celebrations. Crosswalk has been in place for a few months at the Bond Street and Glendon Drive intersection. There are signs indicating that there's a crosswalk prior to the crosswalk. There have been speed reduction and police signs put in place, and we do have a crossing guard that is there during the school year. Some opportunities here. You can see the picture on the left-hand side. That's your view as you approach the crosswalk. So just sit with that for a minute, because would there be anything that would tell you that there's a crosswalk coming other than the crosswalk signs that you have to visually pay attention to? So the crosswalk is still hidden as drivers approach. Prior to this intersection, it goes from 80 kilometers per hour down to 50 kilometers per hour, quite close to this intersection and this crosswalk. Even with the crossing guard in place during school hours, some families have almost been hit while crossing. And the crossing guard, there is inconsistencies with the crossing guard. She's lovely, she does notify families on Facebook, but there's inconsistencies, and that puts our children at risk. Next, please. The next one I want to talk about is the corner of Glendon Drive and Adelaide Road where my daughters were hit. I have no celebrations here. In fact, there was a crossing guard there last year, and now there is no crossing guard there. So I think that it's important to have a crossing guard consistently at these lights during the school year while children are walking to and from school. Next, please. The next one I want to point to your attention is Adelaide Road and Woods Edge Road, or Emerson Drive. So you have across the street from Adelaide Road, I know it's hard to see, but you can see the baseball diamond, that's the Mount Bridges Arena. You have a playground there. Children from Woods Edge like to go to that playground as well. Where do they cross? Likely not at the lights. So they are crossing Adelaide Road, and drivers do not go slow. Although it's 50 kilometers, drivers do not go slow. Next, please. So part of my job, my day-to-day job, is a risk manager. And so I'm going to talk to you about risk here. So some opportunities. We need a full-time crossing guard during the school year at the Adelaide Road and Glendon Drive lights. We need one at the Bond Street and Glendon Drive crosswalk. Additionally, we need a crosswalk with signs at the Adelaide Road and Woods Edge Road or Emerson Drive. And then finally, crosswalk signals at the Bond Street and Glendon Drive crosswalk and the Adelaide Road, Woods Edge, Emerson Drive crosswalk. The urgency or the risk potential. If you look at the risk potential, if anyone's worked with a risk matrix before, this is a risk matrix, and you use the potential with the likelihood impact scales, and you understand what the potential for risk is. And the risk is very high here, if not high. So children have become used to using the crosswalk to get to school. There's a playground at the school, so children are going to try and use this during the summer, and we're now putting them at an even more increased risk because they've been used to using that crosswalk, so now they're going to use the path of least resistance. I told my daughters and my boys who walk to school every day to go to the lights. They're afraid to go to the lights now. I can't imagine that other kids are afraid to go to those lights that saw my daughters get hit by a vehicle. So, next please. I just ask, you have the ability to take action, and you have the responsibility to take action. So I'm asking you to put our children ahead of whatever costs it will be, because they deserve it. And I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you for that, Courtney. And were there any questions of Courtney? I'm just going to ask you for a clarification, because I do know that the crossing Glendon and Bond to the lights, half a block, just so the council gets a sense of the distance from one to the other.
So my children, throughout the entire school year, I told them to walk from my house, and I live on Bond Street, and use the lights. It takes them about 20 to 25 minutes to walk that way, and on sidewalks, etc. If they go to that crosswalk, it takes them less than 10. So children are going to use that path of least resistance. So it's about 2 blocks, but that 2 blocks does add up.
Thank you, Courtney. Were there any other questions? Councillor Peltman.
No questions, just a comment. Clearly, you know, we know drivers are moving fast, coming past the Ford dealership and coming into an urban area. It happens in every urban area. There's a transition at times, so I think it's a valid request, and I hope your daughters are okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Courtney. We really appreciate your coming this evening. Thank you very much. Move on to 3.1, approval of the last council minutes. Recommendation that the meeting minutes be approved as written. Carried by Councillor Brennan, second by Councillor Hammer. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Communications, we have a number. We have 9 of them. Are there any correspondence that anyone wishes to discuss to be pulled for further discussion? Pelkman?
I'd like to speak to 4.6, the resolution from County Norfolk requesting amendments to the Highway Traffic Act.
Thank you. And I apologize, Deputy Mayor, I was stumbling over your title.
I'd like to speak to 4.1 and 4.2, please.
Okay. Are there any others? Okay, so we have a motion to carry items 4.3, 4.4, 4.5, 4.7, 4.8, 4.9. Somebody to carry the motion. Councillor Pelkman, second by Councillor Brennan. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we'll start with you, Deputy Mayor. You want to talk about 4.1 and 4.2?
Yes. So obviously a touching and heartfelt presentation we had. I just wanted to comment a couple of things. I believe, well, when we're speaking about this issue, there's a difference between a pedestrian crossover and a pedestrian crosswalk, and it may help during our discussion if we can kind of agree as to what the difference is. So I'm referring back to some stuff I learned years ago. A crosswalk is the painted line on the road. And the crossover, I think, is really what we're probably...
Deputy Mayor, could you turn on your mic?
I probably could. Donna, see, Councillor Hammer didn't tell me to do that, so. Do I don't need to repeat myself?
No.
Thank you. So I believe what, in fact, we're probably talking about is a pedestrian crossover. And the crossover meaning something above your head, the flashing lights, traffic must, there's more requirements on traffic. They have to stop longer. So I think that is what we're looking at, and I couldn't agree more with the asks in total. I'd like to see, I don't know if now's the time to make a motion or not, or just speak to it. Thank you.
We're just receiving the communication.
Thank you. So I'll just leave it there. I think if, you know, as we speak to this, those words help clarify what it is we're talking about.
Did you want to continue at 4 point? Did you have a question to the Deputy Mayor?
Just an add-on. I know when I was canvassing in that neighborhood, you know, it was pointed out to me that the sidewalk on Riverview stops at Marla Court and does not continue. And there was a request for it to continue to Hull Road, just for those kids that are walking to school.
Councillor Brennan, I'm struggling over everybody's titles.
That's okay.
Almost promoted you.
Clearly, pedestrian safety is a rising concern in town with people's concerns over the epidemic of speeding that we've seen over the last few years. This is not the only time we've seen this. We have also had requests, you know, for action being taken at our traffic committee. And I would suggest maybe the time has come that we need to maybe try and come up with some kind of plan for pedestrian safety, especially those with children. We need to take a look at where the most effective places would be in town to have crossovers and crosswalks. And that's something that we should probably strategize with staff, and also take a look at where, you know, the continuation of sidewalks could also be prioritized so we could spend our dollars wisely. So maybe arising out of the last 2 presentations, we need to take a more concerted, organized approach to this issue.
Why don't we receive it, and then under new business, if you wish to bring a motion to have a staff report, that seems appropriate. Okay.
Motion to
Yep, motion to receive.
motion to
the-
receive
Yep.
4.1.
Yep, Deputy Mayor McGuire, second by Councillor Pelkman, all in favor? Carried. 4.2, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. So the report's in front of you. I just wanted to give you a follow-up. I have been in contact with Dave Burdan after receiving this from him a little while ago. So he has some great news. They have some news on the youth crash bed program that they're trying to put together. It looks like it's coming together well for them, and I know I will be meeting with him next week. I suspect the mayor and I will be together when we do that. We just got to arrange it, and hopefully by the following meeting we have some firm, great news in that regards for our community.
Any other comments? Councillor Brennan.
That's really great news. It was rather sobering to hear in the previous presentation from the county that approximately $0 from Strathroy-Caradoc and approximately $0, save $17,000 in the entire county, actually go to homelessness programs. I had been under the impression that some of the dollars that we moved over to the county each year were used by the Social Services Department to help with homelessness programs, but it appears I was misinformed. All the funding seems to come from the province only. So therefore the necessity of these programs run by, I would say, private donations is even more startling. But I think it makes it a little bit more difficult for lower tier municipalities such as our own to say that the dollars that we send to the county help take care of homelessness, because they don't. It would seem that if you take $17,000 from the county and prorate it for all the municipalities in the lower tier, maybe $4,000 are coming from Strathroy-Caradoc towards that $17,000. And given the epidemic of homelessness in Southern Ontario and the rising needs we see in our own community, that simply isn't enough. So when it comes to our next budget, it may be that we need to start taking a look at whether or not we are going to designate any dollars to deal with homelessness in Strathroy-Caradoc, because obviously that's not happening at the county because they rely on provincial money only. Thank you.
Point well taken, Councillor Brennan. Any other comments on this matter? Okay, motion to receive item 4.2. Motion, Deputy Mayor McGuire, second by Councillor Brennan. All in favor? Carried. Councillor Pelkman, you wish to speak to 4.6.
Yes, I know I've spoken before about being in favor of automated speed enforcement systems, so with traffic cameras, regulating speed zones, particularly in those transition areas where we know are always problematic. We hear from residents on a regular basis from the same streets over and over and over, and yet we move our officers and the speeding just goes right back to where it was. So, it was unfortunate to learn that we can only do that in community safety zones and school safety zones, but here the County of Norfolk is suggesting that the province open it up to anywhere on the Highway Traffic Act covers. So I think that's something that we should support so that we could start dealing in a more progressive manner the epidemic of speeding in our municipality.
Councillor Pelkman, did you wish to bring a motion? Do we support the resolution formally?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. We have a motion, second. Did you have a question or?
I'm seconding.
Second it. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. We'll now move on to item 6, reports from departments, financial services, and this evening Lindsay will address any issues. We have a recommendation report FIN-2023-28 that the property tax cancellation, reduction, and refund policy be received for information. Someone to carry a motion. Deputy Mayor McGuire, second by Councillor Palmer. Lindsay, did you want to address the report, or are there any questions?
Thank you, Mayor, to the council. I didn't have too many comments. It's not really a new process. It's just something, some housekeeping, just to formalize the policy, just to deal with it. So applicants are treated fairly and consistently.
Thank you. Were there any questions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of receiving this report for information in favor? Thank you. Carried. Thank you, Lindsay. I move on to building and planning easement agreement for 8584 Walkers Road. I'm going to separate out the motions if you don't mind. We'll have the first motion that council receive report BBP-2023-74 for information. If somebody to make a motion, Councillor Brennan, seconder, Deputy Mayor McGuire, all in favor to receive for information. Next motion is that council approve the bylaw entering into an easement agreement between the municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc and Eric Goncalves Inc. and Eric Goncalves. For somebody to make a motion, Councillor Pelkman, seconder, Deputy Mayor McGuire. Are there any questions regarding the report? Or Deputy Mayor?
I think right now we have two motions on the floor.
No, we
voted on the first one?
We voted on the first. We voted on
that one. Pardon me then.
Yeah.
Hopefully I
Your
voted.
hand went up.
Yeah, okay. I'm reading and not paying attention. My mistake. Pardon
No,
me.
that's okay. Are there any questions regarding the report? Seeing none, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor? Carried. Sorry, I will turn my microphone on. Move on to engineering and public works regarding the installation of traffic signals for pedestrian crosswalk. So again, I'm going to separate these out. The motion that council receive report EPW-2023-38 for information. Someone to make the motion. Councillor Pammer, second by Councillor Hoffman. All in favor? Carried. Okay. Second motion is that council approve traffic signals to be installed at the intersection of Glendon Drive and Bond Street in Mount Bridges. Carried by Councillor Brennan, second by Deputy Mayor McGuire. Were there any questions? Councillor Pelkman.
So I see the recommendations for the 2024 capital budget, but are we installing them this year? Or next year?
Director Strauss.
Through the mayor to Councillor Pelkman, yes, we're going to be installing it this year in 2023 and have confirmation that the materials are in stock and they're aiming for the end of August.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Pammer.
I'm just a little confused because the request is for traffic signals, but the photo doesn't have any signals.
And that may be where Director Strauss, you want to explain that? Maybe the verbiage.
Through the mayor to Councillor Pammer. So the verbiage is incorrect. So the county has county crosswalk guidelines, and they really have three different elements. One, which is the traffic signal, so that's why I named it that. However, the photo is correct. We're not actually installing the red, yellow, and green light. It will be the actual rapid rectangular flashing beacon with the arms going over, just like that photo presents.
Follow up, Councillor Pammer.
Right, so in this photo, so a child would push the button, but there'd be nothing flashing for traffic. Is that correct? Where's the?
Director Strauss. I'm just going to
I
remind.
have my glasses on, honest,
Yeah,
but
no,
I
I'm
can't
just going to
see.
remind everyone to direct the questions through the chair, so we could do that. Okay. Director Strauss.
Through the mayor to Councillor Pammer. So there is flashing lights when you press the button. There actually will be strobes. It'll kind of give the effect of much like a police siren. However, it's not going to be blue and red. It's going to be a white, much like the one on Head Street currently. However, this is a little more heavier duty, and it'll have the arms going across it, so that the traffic does know that there is a crossing right there.
Any other questions? We have a motion on the floor. The council approved traffic signals to be installed at the intersection of Glendon Drive and Bond Street. All in favor? Carried. And I apologize for the cough. This third motion is the council approve $40,000 from the 2024 capital budget for the traffic signal. Someone to carry a motion. Councillor Pelkman, seconded by Deputy Mayor McGuire. Are there any questions? Councillor Hammer.
Through the chair to the director, is that the total cost, 40,000? Could you give me the total price of the installation of this? Thanks. Please.
Yeah, Director Strauss.
Okay, thank you. Through the mayor to Councillor Pammer. So the total upset cost that the county will be charging us is $70,000. So if it does run past that, I have confirmation in writing from the county engineer that they'll cover the limit. So we do have $30,000 already approved in the 2023 budget, and then we're just requesting the 40 from the 2024.
Thank you.
Councillor Brennan.
Thank you, Your Worship. Given the substantial investment we're making in pedestrian safety here, then I think it would be very important that we take a look at the deceleration zone from 80 to 50 and how we can consider maximizing the safety of that crosswalk. If we need to back off the 80 a little bit further to give a larger deceleration zone, we should maybe consider that. But I'd leave that to the traffic committee and people to take a look at. But I'd like to see that reviewed.
I think we don't need a motion for that. I think Director Strauss can take that back to the traffic committee. Any other questions regarding this request? So a motion on the floor, the council approved $40,000 from the 2024 capital budget for the traffic signals. All in favor? Carried. We'll now move on to item 6.3.2. The Gabriel Old Drive Drain 2023. We have a motion that council award the Gabriel Old Drive Drain 2023 project to Vanbury Drainage and Bulldozing in the amount of $48,300 excluding HST. Someone to bring a motion. Deputy Mayor McGuire, second by Councillor Pelkman. Is there anything you need to address on this, Director Strauss? Were there any questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. On item 6.33, I'm going to ask that we skip that one until we go to the notices of motion. If you don't mind, there's a reason why. We just ahead of the curve on the response, so we'll carry that one over. Move to 6.3.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
What's your point of order, Councillor Brennan?
Change of agenda in a meeting requires a motion to approve.
Okay. Consult with the clerk.
Change the agenda in a meeting.
Yep. It can be, so we'll make a motion to change the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Councillor Brennan, second by Deputy Mayor McGuire. All in favor? Put that another one up to the mayor's learning. Thank you for that, Councillor. Move to item 6.3.4, the 2023 tar and chip program. Can you break this into two motions? First one is the council received the report EPW 2023-41 2023 tar and chip program. Motion to receive the report. Deputy Mayor McGuire, second by Councillor Pelkman. All in favor? Great. And I'll apologize, Councillor Wilsey, I haven't, just wave if you want to second a motion or something, so I apologize. I'm not excluding you on anything. The second motion is that the 2023 tar and chip program be sole source the municipality of Middlesex Center Public Works Department in the amount of $612,810.90 plus HST. If someone to bring a motion, Councillor Pammer, second by Councillor Pelkman. Director Strauss, did you want to comment on the report?
Sure, through the mayor. So as you already mentioned, it is a sole source award with our neighboring municipality. They have actually completed work for another neighboring municipality for North Middlesex last year in their tarnship program, and it was a success. I'm just gonna make a couple notes and I'll leave it with you guys, but if we don't elect to go with tarnship this year through this report, by the time we actually put out a tender and do the full process, we likely won't be receiving tarnship this year, just as an FYI. And that tarnship, so it does have asphalt emulsion, and asphalt emulsion does adjust monthly. So right now, the contract is the $612,000, but we do have an upset limit with, after allocating money in the funds, it's at $693,000, and we would not exceed that. So if we do come to a point where we would exceed this limit, we will stop. That may mean we may not do a road. That could also mean if the asphalt index adjusted lower, that we could maybe do more. So I'll leave it at that and answer any questions.
Any questions for Director Strauss? Councilor Derbyshire.
Thank you. Through you to the director. I just wondered about Troops Road and Rougham Road, if we had any plans on actually upgrading them to asphalt anytime soon, whether this is a deal, those two maybe could wait if we do see asphalt and a widening and kind of expansion there.
Yep. Director Strauss.
Through the mayor to Councilor Derbyshire. Troops Road at this point does not have anything on the agenda to be upgraded to asphalt, but Rougham Road, once the future development happens on the north end, then it would be considered. I will note though that Rougham Road is in rough shape right now. The PCI index is within the report, and it likely won't be for at least another 5 years, and usually a tarnship resurfacing lasts about 5 to 7 years.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll bring a vote. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. On to item 6.4 from the CAO, the Housing Accelerator Fund. There are two motions. First, report CAO 2023-03 be received for information. Someone to bring the motion. Councillor Hammer, second by Councillor Brennan. All in favor? Carried. Second motion, the council directs staff to complete an action plan and submit the application form on behalf of the municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc. You want to bring a motion? Councillor Brennan, second by Deputy Mayor McGuire. I didn't know Lindsay or Director Lilborn was prepared to speak to the item. No?
Jennifer, Director Huff,
Jen, okay.
may be able to provide some context.
Yeah. Thank you, Director Huff.
Thank you through the worship to council members. So my understanding is actually we've just been advised today that the pot of money application process is open as of late last week, and the application deadline is April 18th, and a key component to making the application is to get it in on time. The deadline is August 18th. So before that, we need to bring forward a subsequent report to council with the finalized proposed action plan for endorsement by council. We need that endorsement as part of the application process. And we've been told, you know, if we're successful in the application process, there's a variety of uses for this money, including for infrastructure that would support housing, and we potentially could be able to access anywhere between $5 to $9 million. So that would be very helpful to the number of capital projects that we have on the horizon. So I've drafted a proposed action plan. There are still some things that will have to be amended through that process, but happy to take any questions or comments on that plan at this point or anything about the application process. Thank you.
Are there any questions, Councillor Peltman?
Yes, thank you. So through you to, I'm going to guess Director Huff. So just looking at some of the ideas that were put forward here, which I'm sure is kind of a quick off the cuff, these are possibly the things we could do. Is there anything that we could look at? You know, I know we have a number of apartment buildings as plans, but plans only, and no one's got shovels in the ground. So is there any way that we can use some of that money to try and get people to get shovels in the ground to get some of that stock built? Because the reality is the only way we're gonna improve the housing situation is to get housing stock built. That's not single family dwelling.
Director Huff?
Thank you, Your Worship. To Councillor Pelkman, so certainly we can consider a number of different options for incentivizing developers submitting building permits. It is a difficult situation when, you know, we have received all of the planning applications, we've processed the site plan approvals, and we're just waiting for them to decide on the market conditions and when it suits them best to put in a building permit application. There are a number that we know that are in the queue that I really am confident we're going to start seeing construction happen in the next 6 months to 9 months that have been sitting dormant for a while, so I can report that back to council. But certainly we can work with the county and come up with some ideas of other additional kind of new incentives that we might be able to provide to spur on some more activity out there.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we have a recommendation that council direct staff to complete an action plan and submit the application form on behalf of the municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Now move on to item 7, reports from boards and committees. Before we bring the motion, did anyone want to address any one particular report? Seeing none, we have a recommendation that reports from boards and committees be received for information. Councillor Pelkman, second by Deputy Mayor McGuire. All in favor? Carried. We'll now move on to consideration of bylaws and turn it over to Jen.
So we have bylaw 30-23, and this is regarding an item that was on the May 15th agenda. So this is just a bylaw to amend the zoning bylaw. So this is looking for first, second, and third and final reading.
Okay, have a motion that bylaw number 38-2023 receive first, second, and third and final reading. Someone to carry the motion. Councillor Pelkman, second by Deputy Mayor McGuire. All in favor? Carried.
Bylaw 39-23 is also from the May 15th meeting, and it's to authorize the execution of a temporary use agreement. And that one is looking for first, second, and third and final.
Okay. Recommendation that bylaw number 39-23 receive first, second, and third and final reading. Someone to carry the motion. Councillor Brennan, second by Councillor Palmer. All in favor? Carried.
And then we have bylaw 40-23, which is a bylaw to authorize the conveyance of property, and that one is to receive first, second, and third and final reading.
Recommendation that bylaw number 40-23 receive first, second, and third and final reading. Someone to bring the motion. Councillor Pelkman, second by Deputy Mayor McGuire. All in favor? Carried.
Bylaw 41-23 is regarding item 6.2.1, and this is to authorize the execution of an easement agreement, and this one is looking for first, second, and third and final reading.
We have a recommendation that bylaw number 41-23 receive first, second, and third and final reading. Someone to carry the motion. Councillor Brennan, second by Councillor Palmer. All in favor? Carried.
Bylaw 42-23, and this is just the bylaw to confirm the proceedings of tonight's council meeting.
Okay. Recommendation that bylaw 42-23 receive first, second, and third and final reading. Someone to bring the motion. Councillor Pelkman, seconded by Councillor Palmer. All in favor? Carried.
And then lastly, bylaw 43-23, and this is the execution of an agreement with the County of Middlesex regarding the Middlesex Supports Program.
We have a recommendation that bylaw 43-23 receive first, second, and third, and final reading. Someone to bring the motion. Deputy Mayor McGuire, second by Councillor Wilsey. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. We'll now move on to notice of motion. So per our procedures, there's no need to address. Did any of the councillors who may have a motion on the floor wish to address them? Councillor Derbyshire.
Yep, I'm gonna pull out, where is the,
Microphone, Bo.
oh, sorry. There we go. Okay, I'm going to address one motion, I guess. They're not even numbered, oh yeah, they are. Motion number 3. I'd like to actually motion it to be deferred to the second meeting in September.
Okay. So if you're making a motion, there's a motion on the floor. Do you have a seconder for the motion? Deputy Mayor McGuire, were there any questions or discussions on the deferment? Councillor Pelton.
Just want to make sure that that's the air quality one.
Count 3 is the forensic audit.
Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the words that. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. I apologize, didn't have my microphone on. Okay. Any questions? We have a motion on the floor that's been seconded. All in favor? Carried. Now we'll address, Councillor Derbyshire, your 2 motions that came from the last meeting. So tonight we need to vote on them and make them actual motions.
Okay.
So you have a motion that an update be requested on the progress on the application with the Ministry of Environment, including the status on permissions to move the settlement tank. Is there a seconder? Councillor Palmer, all in favor of that motion? Carried. Yep, go ahead, Councillor Derbyshire.
I was gonna say, I think, I think Director Strauss actually addressed that one in the motion that we moved
Yep.
from earlier.
That was actually the one on the Drury Lane. Am I correct?
I think he addressed it all, did he not?
Did he address all of it? Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
He did.
That's what I didn't know
Yeah, I was trying to keep
How we
track
go.
of them too, so.
how we go about this, but I believe he addressed it all in 6, or whatever that was, 6.3.
Okay. So.
Well, I mean, the information he already has, right? So he can just withdraw those.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't need to vote on them.
Okay, we'll get you to withdraw those motions then, Councillor Derbyshire, if they've been addressed.
Yeah, do we speak to 6.3 then, or no?
Yeah, we will. You'll just withdraw those motions because we're gonna speak on the report anyhow. So
Okay.
you can just
So
withdraw.
I will withdraw motion 4 and 5,
Okay,
as they've already been addressed.
okay. There's a seconder for that motion, Councillor Palmer. All in favor? Carried. Okay, so now, since we moved the agenda, we can go back to the report on the item 6.33. Director Strauss, speak to that report.
Through you, the mayor, I'm a little confused. Am I presenting the whole report, or I guess I can just leave it open for questions at this time, if there is any?
Yes. Okay. Yep, Councillor Derbyshire.
I guess my only question on the report is Mount Bridges running, like, are we compliant now?
Yep.
Travis. Through the
Yeah,
mayor.
go through the chair,
Yeah, I
Councillor.
forgot to.
Through the mayor to Councillor Derbyshire. So the plant is obviously not running as we'd all like to see it. When it did get warmer out in the months of May and June, and obviously we don't have July's update, and I wrote this report in June, so we don't have June's. It is running better than what it was in the winter. However, we still have to perform maintenance. For instance, we did clean out our pumping stations. That led to more ammonia and driving up our nitrogen numbers. However, it is operating better, so we are kind of bouncing in and out of compliance, but we are hovering around that. So I can't say that we are compliant, but we are better than what we were in the winter time. However, with the latest from the ministry, I'm hopeful that we'll have that approval to use the interim solution as that equalization tank very shortly.
Thank you.
Any follow-up, Councillor Derbyshire?
Nope, that's good, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay. So I think we need to have a vote now to receive that report, if I'm correct. So motion that council receive report EPW 2023 for information. Someone to carry the motion. Councillor Brennan, second by Councillor Pelkman. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Now move to the county council report. Deputy Mayor McGuire.
Did we deal with Councillor Derbyshire's first and second motion and Councillor Wilsey's motion, or are they all done?
We don't deal with them at this meeting. They're just tabled, and we deal with them at the next meeting, per the procedures.
Or what you told me before the meeting?
No, yeah.
Showed how I was listening then too.
I am not gonna make any comments.
I know. I'm sorry. I just wanted to follow up a little bit with what we heard from Cindy Howard. So just for common interest, I found it interesting. I found this out at the last meeting. Back in the late 1990s, during the Harris government, conservative government in the province, there was a massive municipal restructuring. They called it the Common Sense Revolution. And out of that, what happened is a number of provincially mandated items were downloaded onto municipalities. Down to us in this area in the London Middlesex region, Ontario Works, housing, childcare, land ambulance were all brought down here, along with health. And out of that, the method of dealing with all of that is that London was mandated to take Ontario Works and housing and childcare, which is why we see London Middlesex housing, because London, under the Consolidated Municipal Service Management Agreement, which is the agreement the county has with London, they're looking after that end of things. On the reverse side, you will see Middlesex London Health Unit and Middlesex London Paramedic Service, because those were mandated down to the county to deliver on behalf of both the county and the city. And rough numbers, when budgets come through, is about 85% is funded through the city and 15% is funded through the county. Those Consolidated Municipal Service Management Agreement all come due in 2025, so we will see how things go at that time. But that is the time period when we started to see these London Middlesex and Middlesex London organizations. So just by looking at the name, you can pretty much tell which council is addressing it, whether it's Middlesex County Council in the case of Middlesex London Health Unit and Middlesex London Paramedic Service, or is it the city with London Middlesex Housing Corporation. Correct, Your Honor?
London Middlesex House.
London Middlesex, yes. And they do have a number of houses in our municipality, 49 Bella Street, 125 Head Street, which is the small apartment building across from Food Basics, and a number of units on Penny Lane. That's all, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of the Deputy Mayor? Seeing none, move to inquiries or comments. Councillor Pelkman, did you have anything?
Just I know that Councillor Hippel and some of the other councillors have been attending the grade 8 graduations, so just to congratulate those students that won the award from the municipality. Those are people that we're hoping in the future will take the reins and lead our society and provide leadership through the community in various aspects. So congratulations to them.
Thank you. Councillor Palmer?
Yeah, I was just wondering through the chair to Director Strauss whether the other intersections that came up this evening in the Mount Bridges area, the two other areas of concern brought forth, are being looked at by the traffic committee, and if not, could you put that on their agenda, please?
Director Strauss.
Thank you through the mayor to Councillor Palmer. Yes, anytime any resident has an inquiry like that, you're more than welcome to email me and I'll ensure it gets on the traffic committee. We are planning on having a committee meeting in the next coming weeks. So it may not meet, I think I mentioned at the last council that it would meet July. It may be the first meeting in August, but we'll have that on the agenda. Yeah.
And I'm wondering if you could just clarify.
Sure, your microphone.
Sorry,
there.
clarify whose responsibility crossing guards fall under.
Yep, we can actually have the clerk speak.
It's me.
Okay, so again, this evening, we had, an issue brought forth by a resident about crossing guards at a very, very busy corner. And I'm wondering if you could speak to it or speak to it at another meeting, our crossing guard situation within the municipality, where some of the sore spots are, and perhaps strategies on how we can make that more effective.
So I think that our biggest issue is recruitment. We don't have enough. Aside from the Mount Bridges, the Glendon and Bond, she is doing it, but we don't even have spares when she can't make it. So I think the biggest issue we have right now is recruitment. We do have probably still 3 crossings that don't have any guard. And we're at the point that we're shifting based on who's available, who's going to be absent at a really busy intersection. We have to shift them around. So that's our hugest struggle right now, is that there is no one.
I'm just going to piggyback on your comments, Councillor Pelkman. We will be shortly starting our multi-year budget process, and this may be something that we talk about as part of the multi-year budget, that we do need to begin to allocate funds for crossovers, correct, Dave, Deputy Mayor?
I believe so.
Yep. Deputy Mayor, did you have anything?
No, thanks.
Yep. And I'll go to you the very last, Councillor Wilsey. Councillor Brennan, did you have anything?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Councillor Derbyshire.
No, I'm good, thanks.
Councillor Wilsey, did you have anything under inquiries or comments?
No, nothing tonight.
Okay. Thank you. Just 2 things I'd like to cover off is, one, I was fortunate last week, as was the Deputy Mayor, to be the opening of the new dental clinic in Shops on Sydenham, put together by the province and Middlesex London Health Unit. I got that right. It's a great initiative. It provides low-cost dental care to seniors. There's also availability of low cost to dental care to families and youth. And quickly, the Shops on Sydenham are becoming a hub for medical care in this community. So kudos, and I know the Deputy Mayor will pass it on to Dr. Summers. We're very appreciative of the service. And this is the kind of thing in this day and age where we try to help as many people. And just an announcement, it's not on the agenda, but last Thursday we had the annual general meeting of Caradoc Housing in Mount Bridges. It's the first one in 4 years. COVID was in the way, but we are progressing on our promised to be more open and transparent. I'm going to announce that Councillor Pammer is the new president of Caradoc Housing, so welcome to have Councillor Pammer assume that role. I know she is passionate about housing. You heard it tonight in homelessness or questions regarding that. So thank you, Councillor Pammer, for agreeing to take on that role. It's very much appreciated. Oh, well, you can talk. No, I will talk. So I remiss. Director Lilborn, acting CAO, has reminded me that this weekend is Rib Fest, so we should all be out there for Rib Fest. So, and I think that is the title, acting CAO here tonight, just to confuse the public even more. And we all know the scheduled meetings. Their next meeting is Monday, July 17th. Now I'll make a motion to go in camera. Council may move into closed session to discuss a personal matter regarding Chief Administrative Officer recruitment, a personal matter regarding identifiable individual, and a legal matter regarding the former servicing agreement with the Township of Adelaide Metcalf, and a procedural matter to approve in-camera meeting minutes as permitted by Section 239 of the Ontario Municipal Act and Council's Procedure Bylaw. I apologize for the cold. Recommendation, we move into closed session. Councillor Pelkman, seconded by Deputy Mayor McGuire. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
count down from 10.
Thank you. We're now back in live session. Report on the matters in camera. We were in closed session to discuss the personal matter regarding the chief administrative officer recruitment, a personal matter regarding identifiable individual, and a legal matter regarding the former servicing agreement with the Township of Adelaide Metcalf, and a procedural matter to approve in-camera meeting minutes as permitted by section 239 of the Ontario Municipal Act and Council's procedure bylaw. Motion to adjourn. Councilor Brennan, second by Deputy Mayor McGuire. All in favor? Carried.